What is up, good people? Crypto Prepper here. Today is Monday, August 24th, 2026. It's been about a month since my last video, and we've had some excitement in the last week. You can see that nice candle here at the end of this chart. And today I wanted to talk about setting up bots on Bitcoin and specifically for the bear market, because you can see this back test basically covers the entire bear market, a little bit before the top back on October 5th. And let's see, I measured this earlier, but I forgot what it was. Where's my um, price range tool? Okay, so it's down like 30% from the time that this bot would have started, but it's down 35% from, or 36% from the top, and it got as low as 53%. So definitely one of the more shallower bear markets that we've had in Bitcoin. But so if we can assume that the bit the upside is going to be not as great and the downside is not going to be as great, these bots will continue to do well. You can see during that drop, this bot back tested at 8.13%. So I've got a couple different bots set up all on Bitcoin, and I think some of them might be USDC, but this one I accidentally did USDT. Shouldn't be too big of a difference, but I want to go through some settings because with the software that I'm using, this Bitscap software, you can set up multiple bots, multiple DCA bots on the same pairing. So what I like to do is I like to stagger some of the settings. So I want to talk about that today. Excuse me. Okay, so let's look at these settings on this one that produced an 8.13% APY. And you can see it's on Coinbase. You can also set these up on Kraken or Binance if you have access to that, and also KuCoin. Gemini at the time does not allow for DCA bots. Um, so I'm just going to be talking about Coinbase. Even with the typically higher fees, you're going to have, I've had better luck with these bots on Coinbase than even Kraken, um, as far as APY goes. So Coinbase, you can see, is the exchange Bitcoin USDT. Let's actually, oh, actually, I don't want to do that because it's going to mess up all my settings here. If I change that pairing, it'll make me start over. So then with the investment, these bots can be started with as little as 1,000 and scaled up as much as you want. But before you scale them up, what you want to do is you want to click down to manual adjustment and change that base order amount to 31.25. So it's going to immediately buy $31.25 of the coin. And then when it drops down here, it'll buy another 31 and then double on each line. So we'll talk about how to make that happen. And then the averaging orders is 968.75. So if you take those two numbers together, that equals 1,000. And then when you go to scale up, you can see it'll automatically adjust those settings for you. Let's see if I can get this right at 1,000 again. Maybe not. Okay, so the other settings don't matter as much, um, as far as and you'll see it won't change. Actually, let's take this up to like close to, let's take it up to about 5K. And you'll see it's not going to change the APY that you're going to get, uh, that I got 8.13 with the $1,000 investment. Now, I don't recommend if you just had $5,000 to put it all in one bot. Of course, I'm not giving financial advice, but I don't put all my eggs in one basket, and I don't expect anybody else to want to do that either. So, and these bots are great because you don't have to. So you are going to set up your averaging orders quantity at 5. A lot of times it defaults, but sometimes it doesn't. But make sure that's 5, and that'll give you these 5 limit order lines down here. And then the averaging order step percent is 7. So that's 7% distance between the two. The amount multipliers, you can just click over here to X2. I like to slide it because it starts somewhere about here. I just like to click it and slide it over. And then the Step multiplier usually starts about over here. You can see what that does is it increases those lines even more. I've played around with some of those and haven't had much luck manipulating that. So I always just keep that off. Excuse me. Keep clearing my throat. Hopefully that doesn't pick up too loud on the mic for you, but I'm not going to try to edit it out. I'm not fancy like that. I'm just a regular guy who likes to play with bots. Okay, so then the position take profit and stop loss is what that means. So with Bitcoin, I typically go with a because of the volatility is a little less than some of the other cryptos. I like to go with a take profit of 3. So when it does pop up, it might not pop up 5% and restart. So I like to set that at 3 so that it resets sooner and then you'll catch more of the waves most of the time. I'll maybe talk about an example where that may uh, um, where you could potentially make more, but the risk is higher, of course. So, okay, so our take profit is at 3. We don't use a stop loss, so that it defaults off, and you can leave it off. Then, if you are following the market and you're confident that we are in a bear market, the pump dump protection actually does better in the bear market when you leave that on. But if you turn it off in the bull market, it'll produce more gains. So when we had this spike up, I had some of my live bots, I had them with pump dump protection still on, and it was showing up in my bot area down here once you start bots. And actually, I'll start this and we can look at it after we do a back test. But what it was doing is it would say pump dump on the status category, and it wasn't buying immediately. It would sell, and then it was waiting to buy, and so I wasn't catching as much of the pump as I should have if I were to have that off. So, uh, so I'll recap that. If you are confident that we're in a bear, or if you just don't even want to care, you just want to set and forget these because that's what these bots are intended to do, is just set them and just let them run, and then they pay you, all throughout. And this will still pay you in the bull market. But I mean, when the bull market really gets going and we see these big pumps and all this liquidation happening, the pump dump protection is actually going to be uh, more advantageous to you to turn off. Okay. So let's do a back test, and you'll see that changing of the amount did not change the APY from the $1,000 investment. Oh, it went up 0.01%. And that, no, and that, I was going to say it could have been, the price could have changed since I did that, but that's not the case. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to see if I can take this bot down to 1,000 without having to redo all my settings. I'm doing one at a time because I just didn't want it to mess with any of these. So it changed it a little bit. 3130 instead of 3125 and 968.70. So those are easy enough to change back to how I had it. I just kind of messed them up a little bit, but and you can see here, let's make sure this back test is still looking good. Should be 8.13. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this bot. But knowing that um, we're we this should be our bottom. So we're on our way into the next bull market, and it's gonna most likely stair step its way up out of here. And then once it gets into price discovery, then we'll see some more volatility. We'll still have volatility up until then, but I'm going to go ahead and turn that pump dump protection off. I'm going to just go ahead and continue and start the spot. And then you'll see here's what it looks like when you've got it running. Pardon me again. And here's where it was showing that status as, instead of saying active like it does now, it said pump dump and it was red. And so anyway, so let's talk about this next bot that we've got set up. It's just a little bit different. But it returned a 9.20 APY. So the main difference on this you'll see is instead of on this I used, let's see. So we can go back. I clicked back over to that original bot. I set up, let's go bot actions and view details. So this one, the averaging order step percent was 7. And this one here is 6.5. That is the only difference. Yes. The take profit here is also 3. And the pump down protection is on, or on still like it defaults on. Okay, and you can see this actually gave you a 1 more percent APY. And so let's go ahead and continue. We'll go ahead and set this bot up. And you can see here, if we look at the first one we set up, we have the initial investment 1,000. All the numbers are the same. 7% X2, 3% take profit. And the only thing that's different is this one is left on. So you could also, what I like to do with my bots is I like to stagger the averaging order step percent. That's the first thing I stagger. And then another thing you could change between each bot is have one with the pump dump protection on and the other with the pump dump protection off. Because ideally, you're not just setting up all your bots at once. You're setting up a handful of bots and then letting them do their thing. They're gonna they're gonna pay you. And then as you're making money from your other streams of income, then you could set up more bots. And with this Bitscap software, you can set up at least a 10. 10 is the max for the base level. That's $30 a month. So you can set up 10 bots with that. The advanced tier, I think you can set up 80 or 90 bots. And then with the pro tier, you can set up 250 bots. And then that gives you also, it gives you the back testability. So, and we can talk about that later too. But I wanted to talk about, let me make sure I start this bot here. So let's talk about another way, excuse me, that you another bot that you could get a little bit more, quite a bit more APY, but it is quite a bit more risky. I'll show you how that is the case. So here we have the same settings, $1,000 investment, 3125, 968.75, 5 averaging orders quantity, 7 here, X2 multiplier off. Our take profit is set at 5 here, okay, rather than 3, and our pump dump protection is on. And this, in this back test, it gave me a 13.9% APY, but it's riskier, quite a bit riskier, because when I changed, this is the first thing that I like to stagger. So say I set up a lot of bots on with a 5% take profit. And before I forget to mention, the take profit and the pump dump protection under risk management are things that you can change after setting up the bot. So let's talk about that real quick since I brought it up. And my mind is, I'm kind of flopping back and forth, I feel like, but hopefully you're following along. And if you need to, save the video and watch it again. And maybe after watching several videos that I'm going to be doing in my past videos, these will make sense and you'll kind of see and you'll be able to follow along better. But let's go back to this bot here, and then so you click it, highlight it, hit bot actions, and you can modify the bot. So you cannot modify the amount in it or the averaging orders and the step percent or any of the first things that we changed under there, but you can change the price percent take profit. So, and then also the pump dump protection. There's been times where um, I was listening to the blockchain backer, and if you've seen some of my previous videos, you know I talk quite a bit about him. And if there's been a couple times where I've he's expected like, um, oh, hey, we should see a nice little pop here, and he may have he didn't really if he did predict this last one, he didn't predict it as strongly as he had in the past. But there's been times where he was like, "Oh, we're gonna see a nice little pump here." So what I did was I took some of my bots and I changed the price percent change from like three or five. I think it was a five, and I changed it up to like 10. And so that gave me a nice a little bit of a boost off that pump, and then I changed it back to the five. But really, these bots are you can gonna change them as they're going, but they're not really. I want to try to set these up and forget them, and show you guys how to do it too. So that's how you do that. You could just hit four, and then that when you have make a change, it'll say continue, and then you can. Oops, I don't want to actually cancel it. Hopefully, I didn't cancel it. Oh, I canceled the change. That's what I canceled. Okay. So you can see I don't do that a whole lot. So I was kind of confused there for a second. All right. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you like this. Give me a thumbs up if you do, or a thumbs down if you don't. Subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be putting out some more videos, especially as the market gets more exciting. It's going to be more exciting to make videos. Um, let's see. Okay, so I wanted to show you on this other one that did produce a 13.9% APY with that 5% take profit. But say I staggered my averaging order step percent and set up several bots and they were all take profit five. Actually, okay, this is good because maybe my back tests that I was running earlier were kind of wonky. So that's just a little different. But say I went to 7.1. Let's see if it does it again. Okay. So maybe this, you can just delete the part where I said that it's a little riskier because when I was running back tests on this earlier, because when I run these, I like to play around with the averaging order step percent a little bit. You know, when I do them in real life, I'll go six and then 6.25 and then 6.5 and then 6.7. And I set up like a nice little handful under each pairing. And of course, when you do that, you're going to have to set up the bot from scratch over and over again because there's no way to like save these settings and just copy and paste them. You got to do it manually. But once you get in the habit of doing them, and they go really fast, so it's not like it takes long, but sometimes it's easy to lose track of where you're at. So make yourself a list and check it off. So let's see if I go 7.1, 7.2 this time. Yeah, this is what I was doing earlier. When I went to 7.1, I went to 7.2, 7.3. Then all of a sudden it went from like 13% to 0.28, which is still better than you're getting in a bank, right? But this is not something that I would want to do. Um, so anyway, that does show that it was a little bit riskier. Let's try 6.9. I don't think I did a back test of that earlier. So you guys are kind of seeing behind the fourth wall on how ooh, that's a nice 14. That's a nice little pump. So, or a nice little pick up off of what the other one was. Anyway, so this is, like I said, it's been a while since I've done a video, so I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Just showing you, maybe it's best to stagger the settings, and I'm going to go ahead and start this bot too. Now, and I am in demo mode. This is not my live account. So if you see some numbers that it said I have $2 million, that's not my demo account has been live for my account here has been alive for like over 5 years. So when I've just had stuff hanging out and then Bitscap can reaccumulate, it'll start you out with like a Bitcoin and some USDT, I think, and then you can play around in demo mode before you even get started with live mode. You can play around, but in demo mode, these bots only last like 90 days. So uh, it might be good um, in this time of the market because we're in a bullish posture, but it's not always going to be exciting. I've had bots I've set up where they expired before they really did anything in demo mode. All right. So, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. If you want to see more of these videos, subscribe to the channel and leave me your favorite coin in the comments. And maybe I'll come up with a cute little portfolio to have you look at and see what you think. All right. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.